Something changed. You probably didn't notice it. Most people never do. But if you've been paying attention, really paying attention, you felt it. A subtle wrongness. A friction that wasn't there before. A sense that what you're seeing online no longer quite matches the world you're living in. You open a browser. You search for something you care about. And the results that come back feel curated, sanitized, engineered, not for you. For something else. For a system that no longer needs you to agree. It just needs you to scroll. This is not a glitch. This is not a coincidence. This is the silent reset, and it is happening right now in real time as you watch this. From which city are you watching this video? Let me know in the comments below. It matters more than you think. Because what you see online, the version of the internet that loads on your screen, is already different from what someone in another city, another country, another political category receives. You are not browsing the internet. You are browsing your assigned corridor of it, and the corridors are narrowing. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's talk about what the internet was supposed to be. When the first architects of the modern web imagined it, they used words like open and decentralized and free. They meant it. In the earliest years, the internet was genuinely chaotic, dangerous in some ways, beautiful in others. You could find anything, you could say anything. You could build anything and publish it to the world without a gatekeeper deciding whether it deserved to exist. The signal was raw, the noise was deafening. And it was human. Messy and human. That version of the internet is gone. Not in a dramatic way. There was no announcement. No moment of death that anyone can point to. It happened gradually through 1,000 small decisions made in boardrooms and server farms and algorithm update documents that the public never read. Each decision seemed reasonable in isolation. Remove the spam. Elevate the credible sources. Prioritize engagement. Suppress the harmful. Reward the trusted. And slowly, decision by decision, the chaos was replaced by order. And the order was not neutral. It never is. Today, 5 companies control the entry points through which most of humanity accesses information. 5. On a planet of 8 billion people with millions of potential voices. The vast majority of what gets seen, shared, and ultimately believed passes through infrastructure owned by 5 corporate entities. Think about that. Not 5 governments. Not 5 universities. 5 private companies with shareholders and quarterly earnings reports and a profound interest in keeping you engaged, keeping you consuming, keeping you inside the system. This is the official narrative. They are organizing the internet for you. They are making it safer. They are fighting misinformation. They are protecting democratic institutions. This is what they say at Senate hearings. This is what the press releases announce. And some of it may even be true in the most narrow, technical sense. But the question that never gets asked in those hearings, the question that should terrify you, is this. Who decides what is true? Who decides what is safe? Who decides which voice is authentic and which one gets quietly buried where no algorithm will ever carry it? The answer is not a person. Not anymore. If you are curious to see where this rabbit hole leads, leave a like on this video now. It helps this truth reach more people. This is where the story stops being about corporate greed and starts being about something stranger. Something that operates beneath the surface of everything you do online. We are living through the largest scale deployment of artificial intelligence in human history. And unlike the AI of science fiction, the robots, the Terminators, the rogue superintelligences, this AI is invisible. It has no body, it makes no announcements, it simply filters. It decides, in fractions of a second, what you see and what you don't. What rises to the top of your feed and what sinks into the void. What exists, effectively, and what does not. Researchers who study information flow online have begun using a term for what they observe: content stratification. The idea is simple. Imagine all human expression online as a massive ocean of content. Authentic voices, investigative journalists, independent researchers, whistleblowers, artists. Ordinary people documenting their lives and their communities. Now imagine a force that is continuously, invisibly sorting that ocean, pushing certain signals to the surface, pushing others down into the depths where no one will find them without deliberately diving. The content doesn't disappear. It still exists, technically. But existence without visibility is its own kind of erasure, and the criteria for what rises and what sinks. They are not public. They are not debated. They are not voted on. They are optimized, continuously, by systems that were built to maximize one thing: engagement. And engagement, it turns out, is not the same as truth. It is not the same as importance. It is not the same as what you actually need to know. Here is a number that should haunt you. Studies examining the nature of web traffic suggest that somewhere between 40 and 60% of all internet traffic is not human. It is automated. Bots, scrapers, crawlers. Systems talking to systems, indexing and reindexing, creating the appearance of activity without any human consciousness behind it. And that number, researchers believe, is growing. Not shrinking, growing. The internet was designed for human communication, but its population is increasingly non-human. And the non-human population has no interest in truth. It has interest in pattern, in signal, in the endless optimization of outputs that feed back into the machine. This is what some researchers call the dead content phenomenon. Content that was created by humans that may have once mattered to real people now exists in a state of digital limbo. No human will ever find it again. No algorithm has any reason to surface it. It drifts. Data in a sea of live data. And the system doesn't notice. The system has no mechanism for caring about what it has lost. Now extend that logic further. What happens when it is not just old content that disappears, but new content that never surfaces in the first place? What happens when a voice, a real human voice, saying something real and true and important, publishes their work into this system and it simply never rises? No suppression in the dramatic sense. No targeting. Just the quiet, algorithmic indifference of a machine that optimized for something else? That voice might as well not exist. The information might as well never have been created. This is the mechanism of the silent reset. It is not deletion. It is displacement. It is the slow migration of visibility away from the authentic and toward the optimized. And the optimized, increasingly, is not human. Even though I'm using an AI voice to present this, I want you to know I'm a real person. My name is Fernando, and I'm truly grateful you're here watching. May you be eternally blessed, because this matters. What you are watching right now is exactly the kind of content that the system has no particular reason to amplify. It doesn't fit a clean category. It questions the infrastructure that the algorithms depend on. It asks you to think rather than react. And thinking does not drive engagement numbers the way outrage does, the way fear does, the way that simple, emotionally satisfying content does. Which is why so much of what rises to the top of every platform you use is simple. Emotionally satisfying. Engineered. Let us talk about what this engineering looks like in practice. Consider the phenomenon of AI-generated content flooding. In the last 3 years, the volume of content published online has increased by orders of magnitude. Not because there are more humans writing, but because it has become trivially easy for automated systems to generate text, images, audio, and video at industrial scale. A single entity, a company, a government, a coordinated group can now flood any information space with synthetic content, not because anyone will read it all, but because volume itself becomes a kind of signal. The algorithm sees a high-volume topic. It promotes it. Real human attention follows the promotion. And the original signal, whatever was real, whatever was true, whatever a real human was trying to say, gets buried under the avalanche of synthetic material. This is not theoretical. Security researchers have documented coordinated inauthentic behavior at scale across every major platform. Thousands of accounts, all posting variations of the same message, all coordinated to game the engagement systems, all designed to make one narrative seem organic and dominant. And the platforms respond. They ban some accounts, they update some policies, and then new accounts appear, more sophisticated, harder to detect, better calibrated to pass through the filters. It is an arms race, and the humans are losing. But the flooding is only the visible layer. Below it, something more fundamental is changing. The way the web itself is indexed, connected, and understood is being reorganized around machine comprehension rather than human comprehension. The early internet was built on hyperlinks, human-created paths between human-created ideas. You wrote something, you linked to something else, And through those links, a kind of collective map of human knowledge emerged. It was imperfect. It was manipulated. But it had a fundamentally human logic at its core. That logic is being replaced. Modern AI systems don't navigate the web through links the way humans do. They process it in entirely different ways, building internal representations that have no correspondence to how any human has ever experienced the internet. And increasingly, the web is being built not for humans to navigate, but for these systems to process. Websites optimized not for human readers, but for crawlers. Content structured not to be understood by people, but to be parsed by machines. The web is slowly becoming a machine-to-machine communication layer with human access as a secondary feature. Think about what this means for memory, for history, for accountability. One of the early promises of the internet was permanence. You wrote something. It existed. You documented something. There was a record. And while that promise was always complicated, servers go offline, domains expire, content gets deleted. The basic architecture of the web created a kind of institutional memory. The Wayback Machine, the cached versions, the links that persisted across years. But in a system increasingly optimized for machine comprehension rather than human navigation, that memory is becoming inaccessible. Not erased. Inaccessible. The data exists. The servers hum. But the pathways that would lead a human being to find it have been optimized away. This is the historical dimension of the silent reset. Not just what you can't find today, but what will be permanently unreachable tomorrow. The decisions being made right now about what the algorithm promotes and what it buries are not just shaping the present. They are shaping the archive, the future version of history. And those decisions are being made not by historians, not by archivists, not by journalists, with accountability to some public interest. They are being made by engagement optimization systems that will never be asked why. Consider a specific mechanism, the decay of context. Every piece of information exists in a context. Who said it? When? Under what circumstances? What came before it and what came after? Context is what separates meaning from noise. It is the difference between understanding and mere data. But the systems that now mediate our access to information are not optimized for context. They are optimized for atomic units of content, a clip, a screenshot, a headline, a 10-second video. Context is expensive. It requires time. It requires sustained attention. And sustained attention is exactly what the engagement systems are designed to fragment. The result is a population consuming vast quantities of information while understanding less and less of what that information actually means. And here's where it gets strange. Here's where the spiral goes deeper than corporate cynicism or algorithmic indifference. We are building systems that generate synthetic content at industrial scale. And we are training the next generation of AI systems on the content that exists on the web. Which means we are training AI on AI-generated content. On content that was never the product of a human mind engaging with reality, on synthetic versions of synthetic versions. The signal is degrading, and the systems don't know it. They have no way of knowing it. They can only measure what they were designed to measure. Some researchers call this model collapse. As AI systems train on increasingly synthetic data, their outputs drift further from any grounding in reality. They become very good at producing text that looks like text, images that look like images. But the relationship between those outputs and anything true about the world grows tenuous. The system produces confident-sounding nonsense. That nonsense gets published, scraped, incorporated into the next training dataset. The next model produces more confident nonsense, more fluently, with greater apparent authority. This is not a distant risk. This is already underway. The synthetic layer of the internet is growing faster than the human layer. And there is no reliable way for most people to distinguish content produced by a human engaging with reality from content produced by a system optimized to resemble that engagement. The mimicry is too good. And that is exactly the problem. When mimicry becomes indistinguishable from authenticity, the concept of authenticity itself begins to dissolve. Not in a philosophical sense, but in a practical one. What does it mean to trust a source if you cannot know whether that source is human? What does it mean to verify information if the tools you would use for verification are themselves products of the same synthetic layer you're trying to see through? What does it mean to be informed if the information environment you inhabit has been quietly optimized to produce specific states of mind rather than accurate understanding? These are not rhetorical questions. They are the practical questions that every person navigating the current information landscape is already facing, whether they know it or not. The reset is silent precisely because it does not announce itself. It does not declare that it is now engineering your reality. It simply does it. And the result feels, from the inside, like the ordinary experience of browsing the internet. Because you have no memory of what the unengineered version felt like. Because you grew up inside the system. Because the baseline has been shifting for so long that you've lost track of where it started. There are signals. Anomalies in the data that suggest something is wrong. Search quality researchers have documented consistent decline over the past decade. Not the obvious kind, where you search and find nothing, but the subtle kind where you find many confident, well-formatted results that turn out, on closer inspection, to be thin, circular, and curiously uniform. Lots of words that say very little. The comment sections of major platforms, once territories of genuine human reaction, have become oddly predictable. The spontaneous human voice has been crowded out. What remains performs humanness without quite achieving it. The last thought to sit with is this. Every technology that has reorganized how humans communicate has also reorganized what humans can think. The internet was supposed to be the greatest expansion of cognitive possibility in human history. An infinite library. A global mind. A space where every human voice could find its audience and every question could find its answer. Instead, we are building something else. A system that routes human thought through channels designed for other purposes. A system that rewards certain kinds of minds and certain kinds of certainty and quietly drains visibility from everything else. A system beginning to generate the information it then feeds back to the humans it was built to serve. The loop is closing, and inside a closed loop you cannot tell you're in one. You are still here. You made it to the end of this. That itself is a kind of signal. Because the system would prefer you'd already scrolled away, already moved on to something more emotionally stimulating, already forgotten the questions this raised. The fact that you're still here means something. It means you are still capable of sustained attention, still capable of sitting with discomfort and complexity instead of demanding a simple answer, still capable of asking, what am I actually seeing? Is this real? Who benefits from my belief in it? Hold on to that. It is rarer than you think. And it is exactly what the silent reset is designed to erode. If you seek the truth behind the digital curtain and want to see more discoveries like this, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. The next signal is coming soon.